Next up, and the final thing that we got to discuss on today's show, what you guys think of the Gallows and Anderson review, or not review, Gallows and Anderson podcast appearance where they buried Paul Heyman, talked about them pretty much shitting on their friends for money
Okay,
and going
so
and signing back with the WWE.
I got about halfway through it, and to be totally honest with you, I kind of got bored with it because I don't think these guys are movers and shakers in the business. I don't think that they're going to have much of a impact on anywhere that they fucking go. They were big in New Japan, but it's like a lot of the stuff they were saying is things that we've all heard before. WWE makes promises, they don't keep them. I have no sympathy for Gallows and Anderson because if you remember when we covered that in our podcast, it's just like if you re-sign with the WWE, y'all some dumbasses. Y'all see how the fuck they treated you your first 3 years, and you're gonna try to re-sign because you think they're gonna pay you more money? Nah, I think they fucked themselves by not going to AEW when they had the chance.
So the rumor was that they were offered, I believe, like $500 or $700,000 a year each, and that was for a 5 year deal. So that would have been for every year for 5 years. And I think and they said AEW was high, but it wasn't that high. So if WWE is offering you, let's say 600, yeah, let's put it in the middle, $600,000 per year over the course of 5 years. So that's $3 million. And AEW is offering you a 2 year contract at $300,000 a year with a 1 year option. Which one would you be taking?
If I was unhappy with how it was booked in
Hold
WWE and it wasn't always about money, I would go with AEW.
But remember, AEW hadn't started yet either. It was still a twinkle in Shad Khan's eye and Tony Khan's eye.
Okay, so I guess that does play a factor in it, but you got to bet on yourself sometimes. You know WWE wasn't going to look out for you. You thought they were. Luke Gallows said that he didn't quite understand the politics because he was only in his 20s when he first got signed. But as you got a little bit older, I'm sure you hung around people in New Japan and wherever else that you wrestled who had firsthand knowledge of how they do things in WWE. So nothing should have came as a fucking shock to you. You got what you got.
And you got God.
One of the most interesting parts was they signed in 2016. I think he said like June or May of 2016, and by September he was wearing a pumpkin on his head, and he's like, "What the fuck are we doing?" Like,
They skipped NXT. They got fast tracked right to the main roster. You think again? I don't know why any fucking tag team outside of WWE think they're gonna go into WWE and suddenly WWE is gonna give a fuck about their tag team division. You go in as a tag team thinking that you're going to be a big thing in the tag division and kind of revolutionize it. And as we all know, Vince McMahon just doesn't like tag teams. He's like, fuck them. Like Mustafa said, that's not how he makes his money. It's not through their tag teams. So why if you're a top tag, look, anyone who's out there listening that needs to hear this, if you are a top tag team in the world, stay the fuck out of WWE unless you want to be a singles wrestler.
yeah, well, what else? There was something they had brought up, and I thought Xavier Mustafa might have found it. Oh, yeah. One of the interesting things was how AJ Styles and them, but at least they kind of admitted that Paul Heyman may have put the bird in Vince McMahon's ear to let them go. But at the end of the day, Vince McMahon has final say. So it's kind of funny to see AJ Styles going so hard at Paul Heyman for those two guys being released when it all really falls on one man. What do you guys think about the whole rivalry now between AJ Styles and Paul Heyman? And do you think AJ Styles is going to stick with the WWE? He said this might be his last contract that he signs, and it's up in 2024. which is also when
But
the AEW television deal is up as well over at TNT. But do you think that he may, just to spite WWE, go and sign with AEW? Because he did recently say on his mixer that never say never about him going to AEW.
so he's already been on record to say that he wants to see his children grow up, and do things with them and stuff like that, and that he was pretty much winding his career down. So I don't foresee him signing with anybody else. I see him riding this contract out because he's making a ton of money. Of course, he wants financial security for him and his family. He's gonna have college coming up, all kind of stuff like that. Like he's not going anywhere. As far as the Paul Heyman situation, we know that AJ Styles is a good guy. He's a goody two shoe. You know, he's a religious guy, and I'm pretty sure he's one of those type of people that if you lie to him, that's it. And if everything went down the way it went down, then I can see why he doesn't want to be around Paul Heyman. Yeah.
Look here. I've never met Paul Heyman before. I don't know this man, but based off of what I do know about him, I wouldn't trust him for shit. So I don't know why anybody would trust anything that man's got to say, knowing he ain't got stroke like that in WWE, for one, and for two, like you said, he's a fucking liar most of the times. So why would you bank on him to like look out for you or for your boys? I don't understand. In 2020, people are still shocked by what Paul Heyman does.
I think because he looked out for him.
And
So AJ just assumed, since he said that, that courtesy will extend to his friends. However, it did not.
I don't know.
Now,
I
I
don't know
hate to be Debbie Downer, but those two have never impressed me their entire time in WWE.
Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure Paul Heyman wasn't the only person that dropped their name. Sorry, not sorry.
Right. I mean, like, honestly, when they came up, I guess they could have done something with them. I think they really, really, really dropped the ball. I understand they don't want to copy Bullet Club or whatever, but you got Finn Balor, you got AJ Styles, and you got Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Why the fuck didn't you put them as a faction and call them something else?
Because WWE likes to, how does that saying go? You cut your nose despite your face, or however you say it. Because of that.
So as soon as they brought them in and they didn't unite those guys or put them in some type of program or take them seriously, I lost interest.
Well, that was pretty much everything that Gallows and Anderson talked about for the most part. Just basically them getting screwed over. They signed those big contracts. They went with the money instead of going with happiness, and that's pretty much what happens when you chasing the bag instead of chasing what it is that you really want. And
I mean, listen, Carl Anderson, he's not missing nothing. He got a hot Asian wife, as he tells us all the time. He got some money in the bank. Those guys are all right. They're having fun in Impact Wrestling.
wrestling.
Right. Like I said, as long as it go anywhere where they're taking their tag team division seriously, and WWE is just not it.
And they said that their contract allows them flexibility with New Japan. So where do you see them fitting in New Japan right now? Is there anywhere for Andersons and Gallows over in New Japan?
I think whenever they do their tag team cup, I think the last winners were Juice Robinson and David Finlay. So whenever they do their tag team cup, I think that's where they're going to get back in with the company. Hell, why wouldn't they rejoin the Bullet Club? Why not? Why the fuck not?
Who's the leader of Bullet Club right now?
Jay White.
Okay.
Well, Evil's the double champ, so I don't know how that works.
So Machine Gun and Doc come back and knock out Juice Robinson. All right.
Who, you know what? I'll be 100% honest with you. The only reason why I really watched AEW this week was because I heard there was something that was special was going to happen, And I was thinking either A, I thought Juice Robinson would answer the call against Cody Rhodes because I know they had a hell of a rivalry with the U.S. Championship, New Japan U.S. Championship. They had a nice rivalry in Ring of Honor. They had some nice matches. So I thought that Juice would show up because he's not currently doing anything right now because he can't really travel to New Japan. Or I thought that Jon Moxley might surprise us and defend his U.S. Title on AEW. But he didn't.
It's kind of funny.
I was disappointed twice.
It's kind of funny. I've gotten so used to wrestling just happening in one place. I was going to say, well, you said AJ Styles wants to see his children grow up. I was going to be like, AEW's filmed in Jacksonville. He's from Gainesville, Georgia. That's not that far apart. He could always join AEW. But hopefully we're not in the same building 5 years from now, just running the same shows week after week. That'd be extremely depressing.